Hey everyone, PK here. The age-old question, is the Australian property market going to boom or is it going to bust? Is it going to rise by 10-15% next year in 2021, or is it going to flatten out, do anything at all, at worst go backwards? Right, this is the question that everyone asks. This is the question that everyone thinks about, generally speaking, when deciding, is it a good time to buy? Right? Is it going to boom or is it going to bust? And based on that, I'll decide whether I get into the property market or whether I stay on the sidelines. The reality is that the Australian property market never booms and it never busts. Okay? So there's 50,000 suburbs in Australia. There has never been a time where each and every single suburb has boomed at the same time. And there's never been a time when each and every suburb has busted at the same time. So you could say that there is no Australian property market. It doesn't exist. There are 15,000 different property markets because there's 15,000 different suburbs. And regardless of whether Brisbane booms or busts, whether Sydney in 2021 booms or busts, whether Melbourne booms or busts, that's entirely inconsequential, because regardless of whether an area booms, there will always be suburbs that underperform, and regardless of whether a suburb busts, there will always be suburbs that overperform. Okay, so there is no single property market. In fact, there is not even a Brisbane property market, because no one can buy Brisbane, okay? Not that I know of anyway. You can only buy one house on one street in one suburb in Brisbane. So whether Brisbane goes up or Brisbane goes down really has little impact on your specific property investment. I'll give you a good example of this. So over the last 4 years, whilst Brisbane has been quite disappointing, it's not really grown. I mean, the overall growth has been timid at best. At the same time, there have been suburbs within Brisbane. I'm talking about the northwest and a couple of different council areas that have risen by 20-30% over the last three to 4 years, right? So you would have thought that, hey, everyone's expecting Brisbane to do really well, but it's been timid, it's been disappointing. Yes, it has, but there have been suburbs that have outperformed, okay? And vice versa as well. If we pick a market like Perth, well, that's not vice versa, it's just furthering the same point. Everyone's disappointed in Perth. I remember 3 years ago on various podcasts, they were saying that the Perth market has bottomed, and then they said that 2 years ago as well, and then they said that last year, and they're saying it now. And it really hasn't done anything. Perth hasn't done much as an aggregate market. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is no aggregate market. Whilst Perth has been very, very disappointing, there have been suburbs in Perth just in the last year that have grown by 15%. Okay? These are more inner city suburbs that are more premium, but nations across Australia, it's not necessarily just the premium suburbs that are growing. But the point I'm trying to make is that the aggregate market doesn't dictate what the individual suburb does, right? So whether Australia will boom or bust, whether Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, Sydney will boom or bust is quite inconsequential. We, as sophisticated property investors, what we want to do is we want to analyze the 15,000 suburbs and take every suburb on its own merit, regardless of the broader geographic region that it's in, because you can have a suburb that goes through the roof in a broader geography that has fallen. And you can also have a suburb that falls in a broader geography that has risen. Okay, so if you're on the sidelines thinking about, what's happening with coronavirus, what's happening with the economy, the overall property market surely can't boom. You're right, the market surely can't boom. That's probably an accurate statement. But there are property markets, there are suburbs across Australia, across the 15,000 options that we have that will do really, really well, that will beat your savings in the bank account, that will beat the stock market when leveraged, that will beat many, many other investment classes. Okay, so if we're thinking about being lazy and just saying, I don't really want to do the effort of figuring out where, what, and when I should buy, I just want to take a punt, then this market right now is probably not for you. But if you want to become a more sophisticated property investor and actually do the homework, do the work to say where, what, and when should I buy, being very prescriptive and being very analytical about it, your money will do very well in the next 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6 years. Okay, so it is always a good time to buy property in Australia, but it is never a good time to buy property blindfolded. So I hope that makes sense. And look, I don't want to intimidate anyone as well, right? So the analysis that I'm talking about doesn't take days and days and days. Once you know what you're doing, once you know the various things to look at, their relative weightings, the thresholds that we're trying to achieve, just the trend analysis of each of these data and qualitative factors, once you understand that, it really doesn't take more than 3, 4, 5 hours to do the work. And it's quite achievable for the average person, which is you and me. So hopefully that's useful. If you're still on the fence, if you're still thinking about, I've got my pre-approval, or I've got $60,000, $50,000, $40,000 in the bank account, I can get some more lending, but I don't know if this is the good time, right? I don't know if this is the right time to be buying. If that's you, if that's kind of what you're thinking, I just want to hopefully add some value to suggest that it is always a good time to buy in a particular market, not just anywhere, not with blindfold on, but in a very analytical and sophisticated manner. You will make a lot of money. So hopefully that was useful. This is true in any time, by the way, not just right now because in coronavirus, but where it's true in 2019, 2018, 2017. Of course, if we go back to 2014, you can kind of do the blindfold thing, but we're not in 2014 anymore. So hopefully that was useful. If it was, please leave me a like or a love or comment below, just so I can get some feedback, some reciprocation to see if this is actually making a difference. And of course, if you have any questions, and yeah, I'll see you next time. See you guys. Bye.